All right. Call the March 11th Sustainability Committee to order. We'll do a roll call vote. Melissa Gavin,
Here.
Jen Wankerl. Mm-hmm.
Jen, can you hear us?
Oh, I'm here. I just couldn't figure out how to unmute myself. Sorry.
Okay. Doesn't look like Danny Dietering's on. Paul McKelsey is here. We'll do public comment. Is there any public comment? No one's online. Speaking. I think we have any public comments. We do these real quick. Committee member report outs and updates. Everybody, I don't have anything that isn't on the agenda to talk about. So there. Discuss the possible approval of the January 14th sustainability meeting minutes. Approve.
Sorry, Michael, did we give the update to the full committee that we didn't get the compost grant that we talked about on our last?
Oh yeah, that's what I was gonna.
Okay.
That's not on there. That's what I was. I knew I had something. I'm gonna back up one.
Yeah.
We did not get the composting grant that we applied for. That's that update. That's what it was. I knew there wasn't one because I removed it from the agenda. Okay. Now we're on the discussion and possible approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes?
I make a motion, Melissa Gavin, motions for approval of the minutes.
Second.
Jennifer Wanker will second that motion.
Okay, is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the meeting minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Okay, meeting minutes are approved. Now we're on to the discussion and the presentation from the SRF Consulting on the electric vehicle charging needs assessment. I just want to come on up and
all right.
What you're gonna do?
You need to press a button for this guy for like
Are the microphones plugged in?
They are. You can turn it green if you want.
Oh, okay.
Okay, great.
Perfect.
Yes. Very nice. Thank you for using it. Sometimes it's tough to hear things on.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having us here. I'm Alexander Brown. I'm a transportation planner with a consulting group. We're a whole-scale transportation firm based out of Minnesota, but we do also have offices in other places throughout the Midwest, including just over in Middleton. So I'm a transportation planner working in all sorts of things from grants and funding, but to other things as well, like including active transportation and electric vehicles at times.
I'm Alexandria Kaufman. I'm also a planner for primarily transportation and community planning. So everything from comp plans to zoning and transportation.
And if you could just hit the next slide. Sorry. And as we're going through this, this is obviously a structured presentation, but hope to keep this as casual as possible. So if questions come up, please feel free to interrupt me and just kind of take things as they come. But a little bit about what this whole assessment is about. So we have partnered with Great Plains Institute, which is a nonprofit out of the Twin Cities, to provide free kind of first come first served technical assistance for transportation electrification, particularly for rural communities and or smaller communities. And we've been tasked to do this specifically in Wisconsin. And so that's kind of how we got set up here with Matt McCarthy to kind of do a whole scale assessment, particularly after some of the challenges from the last round of the charge up Diddy County grants. So, this is funded through General Motors as well. This effort across the Midwest. So that's a little bit just more about kind of what we're doing, and the focus is really on public charging infrastructure for this project. So kind of our call here has been to one, look at the most feasible sites for level 2 public chargers, and to look at ways in which the new municipal campus that's going to be breaking ground here, it sounds like pretty shortly, we'll be able to perhaps have chargers in there. So again, very broad base for just the general transportation profile, kind of looking at our existing conditions. About 462 households in the village of Cross Plains for the latest census were some form of multifamily units, or roughly a quarter of the population. Well, why does that matter for electric vehicles? In the context of public chargers, the vast majority of, or about 80%, is usually kind of the standard nationally of EV owners are homeowners because they can charge their vehicles in their car. So the reason that's important for level 2 chargers is that this is really the demographic that we're really aiming to try and boost infrastructure for, since a lot of the times when someone lives in a multifamily home, the reason they may not have an EV is because that charging infrastructure is not immediately available. Obviously, for Cross Plains, most people, who work are commuting to other places other than Cross Plains, and so between that and the fact that we don't really have like a public transportation system out here, it's a very vehicle dependent community, so therefore EVs are a salient topic. We only have currently one level 2 charger with 2 ports just down the road here at Piggly Wiggly. Another is planned at Glacier Creek Middle School in the parking lot there for later this year, which is something that we've recently learned from the Dane County office. There's a few guiding plans right now at the state level and at the county level here. So just kind of starting from the top and working our way down. Since the IIJA, that big infrastructure bill for about 4 years, came across, and as well as the Inflation Reduction Act, there's been a lot of money, and of course, some back and forth here. I'm sorry, the notification threw me off to develop the electric charging infrastructure. So, of course, the statewide plan is the levy plan, Wisconsin Electric Vehicle Infrastructure, which establishes a few different alternative fuel corridors throughout the states. And sets a goal of 85% of state highway systems being within 25 miles of compliant fast charging stations. So that really does apply everywhere. And so although that doesn't necessarily directly incorporate Cross Plains, that really does establish kind of future EV projections. So the stat that we have from the state is that looking at current trends, we could be looking at about 31% of newer vehicles being electric vehicles by the time that we get to 2050. And of course, it gets more relevant as we point on down. The Madison MPO, just stay on that slide, thank you, created the Dane County Electric Vehicle Charging Infrastructure Plan. Although obviously there's been some changes in administration that made some of the recommendations of that plan already maybe somewhat more of a thing of the past at this point. There's a lot of relevant data here to consider. So using street light data, which is kind of a big data source that our transportation planners use at the city level, looking at traffic stops in downtown Cross Plains in 2022, there's between 2,001 and 4,000 stops a day. So, and by stop, we mean someone taking their car, parking down, and spending some time in Cross Plains for whatever reason. Of those 2,001 to 4,000, roughly between 250 and 750 spent over 240 minutes down there in Cross Plains. And the reason that's important is those level 2 chargers can take a few hours to fully charge a car as opposed to the DC fast chargers. So that is another one of those target populations in terms of trying to make EV vehicles more attractive. And then, of course, pointing down to Charge Up Dane County, which, of course, is really kind of the nuts and bolts of how this assessment can, hopefully be useful to the village, is that, $13.2 million has been set aside for that countywide program from that federal infrastructure bill to build level 2 chargers across the county. And that prioritizes locations that have 3 characteristics. That's 1, that's in rural areas, 2, being near multifamily buildings, and 3, being near multimodal hubs. That really much applies to Cross Plains because of the definition for rural that we use. Well, that's the entire community. There's a lot more multifamily that's popped up here in the past few years. And also for multimodal hubs, the Ice Age Trail really serves the village well in this regard for eligibility in this program. But we'll talk about that a little bit more later in the presentation. Next slide, please.
So when we went to look at potential locations within Cross Plains, we established this process, which was to identify evaluation criteria based off of best practices that have been established nationwide and also in the Midwest. We created then a rubric for, we established those criteria and created a rubric with high, medium, and low scores for each criteria so that we could evaluate each site. And then we identified potential charging locations within the community. We focused on publicly owned properties, places that serve as community gathering spaces. So think about parks, schools, that sort of thing, popular businesses. And then we also looked at geographic distribution. So were there areas of the community that were not covered by this sample? Eventually, we figured out the sites we were going to use. We ended up with 14. I have the,
Yeah, I believe 12 was this one.
correct, 12. So then we went through and evaluated each potential charging location using the rubric. It should be noted we are limited somewhat by recent Google Street View data and that sort of thing. That's what we had easy access to. And so that's the data that we used. So there might be things where you'll look at the rubric and go, actually, that's not accurate. And that's part of why you want your input here is your day-to-day experience. We can go ahead and move to the.
And luckily, unlike other plans and stuff, this is a contingent on village boards adopting or anything, so it can be pretty casual. If something occurs still later, just shoot Matt an email, shoot. So let us know.
So here's a map of the locations that we evaluated. There is actually one location that is missing from this map because Carly mentioned the bank parking lot that you have an agreement with for parking sharing off of bank hours.
Cross from frontage.
Okay. And so that was not included on this map, but will be included in the next draft of the assessment. And we did actually look at that and establish criteria.
Sorry, I could not understand that. Where is that location that's not included that will be?
Lake Ridge.
It's the bank parking lot across from the vintage.
Ah, yes, thank you.
You can go ahead. Thank you. So when we were looking at, when we established the rubric, we looked at a variety of different criteria. And so the high scores for each of these criteria are up there. So one of the main things was, is it a community destination with dwell time? So first of all, are people going there? And then second of all, when people are there things to keep them there that would allow them to charge their car without, just having to sit in their car? So in order to gain a high score, we looked at locations that are frequented by community members or visitors to the community and have a substantial dwell time of at least 30 minutes. 30 minutes is not enough to fully charge on the Level 2 charger, as we established, but it is enough to give people a boost on that for their battery percentage, which is typically enough to get people to use those chargers. We also looked at the proximity to multifamily and rental areas, as Alexander discussed earlier. Often renters and people in multifamily areas don't have the ability to install a home charger. So we looked at not only the proximity, but also you're a pedestrian and you were going to go park your car and then come back later from your home, would you be able to access it? We looked to see if there was publicly accessible off-street parking. On-street chargers can be established, but there can be some maintenance concerns with that, snow plows, that sort of thing. And so typically it's easier from a maintenance point of view, and people are more attracted to off-street charging stations. We also looked at ADA accessibility. In the scenario, we want to be able to provide charging infrastructure to people who use those ADA parking spots and people who do not. And so we looked at the ability, not only, we looked at our ADA parking spaces present, but also are they in a good location? You do see, it's not the intent, but sometimes you see ADA parking spaces that are far away from the destination or are not really actually serving their purpose correctly. We looked at safety and lighting. So in order for people to charge their car and feel comfortable dwelling in the area, they have to feel safe. And so a big part of that is overhead lighting. And then also, are there people passing? Is there that community sense of safety? We looked at amenity support. So when people are staying for long periods of time, they might need to do things like grab a bite to eat or go to the bathroom. In Wisconsin, we're certainly looking at places that have climate controlled areas because nobody really wants to sit in their car in January for 30 minutes. One of the key things there was that they are open at least 40 hours. So we wanted to establish an area or a threshold where people are actually spending time. People have the ability to use those facilities for a substantial part of the week. They're not just open during select times. Finally, we looked at geographic distribution to try to ensure that we weren't clustering our recommendations around the same spots to try to actually cover our village. So based on the rubric we established, we came back with 5 recommendations. Those recommendations are the downtown and Ice Age Trail public parking lot, which is at Mill Creek and US 14. Quick Trip, which does actually have a charging program, so the village could work with Quick Trip to potentially have them cover some of the costs. But that is a location where people have the opportunity to be inside and have access to amenities. Downtown, people obviously have the ability to go to local businesses and use their restrooms, shop, be patrons of local businesses. Vintage Brewing Company, we know, is a local attraction and draws folks to Cross Plains. So that's one area where it also helped in terms of geographic distribution to get some of the western side of the village. So that's a spot where it scored well with our criteria. Right across the street, the UW Health Cross Plains Clinic also scored well in terms of being a location where people are traveling to that location from out of town, like the cars, are spending a significant period of time and they have access to indoor amenities. And then finally, Bayer Park, right up the road also. On that paved parking lot, the one thing it didn't score as high on amenities because those are not necessarily climate controlled, but it still did score high enough, and it is a publicly owned property, which makes it easier to.
Absolutely, and just one more note on that Ice Age Trail public parking as a potential site. During the last round of the Charge of Dane County program, I know the village had applied and looked at that, but ultimately decided not to ultimately install that because of some of the parking concerns, kind of like during the height of the summer during some community events. And that, parking would be at full capacity at that lot. So while we keeping that in mind, we did include some examples of signage that says like this is a preferred use for electric vehicles, or only take this spot if the other 31 spots are taken up. So I mean, is it best practice to have a spot that's reserved for EVs? Yes, but there are other options at your disposal. So that's why we want to keep that recommendation. Another part of this study was looking at the municipal campus that is being built down off Bourbon Brook. So we asked a couple of electrical engineers on our team to give this a relatively high level glance and kind of look at one, is it feasible to incorporate chargers in here? And if yes, what kind and where should those be if those were to be incorporated at the campus? And the gist of it is, as the construction plans exist right now, it exists in such a way where level 2 chargers could be readily accommodated at anywhere in terms of the electrical load of the facility. Now, the DC direct current fast chargers, or the level 3 chargers, that would require a step up transformer, which would be another investment. And then again, just to back up, and because I realized I probably should put this at the beginning of our presentation, the DC fast chargers that can fully charge a vehicle in about like 20 to 50 minutes, whereas opposed to a level 2 charger which can take hours. So I'd say between 4 and 8, roughly. So quite a difference, but also a very big difference in cost. Yeah. And so in terms of recommendations of, well, where in the parking lot should we put this? As you see in the red oval at the southeast corner of the lot, that would be our recommendation in terms of incorporating a public facing charger. So probably a level 2 at those 5 stalls at the south east corner, which is where you could most readily access the new village hall from the roadway. Whereas that blue oval on the top could be for public, but looking in the future, should the village decide to pursue fleet electrification, or the police department decides to pursue fleet electrification, like we've seen with some municipalities in Dane County lately, that could also be another good place to set up that transformer for a level 3, or to just stick with level 2, because if vehicles are going to be idling and be waiting on standby, that's a perfect situation in which they could be just hanging out there and gathering charge until they're ready for use. Next slide, please. Thank you. And so really rattling through the very high level recommendations, just for the sake of this conversation, we've come up with 4. So one, and is pretty immediate right now, we want to coordinate EV charging infrastructure with municipal campus construction if you can. Certainly it could be incorporated later, but at least figuring out where you want to put that within the plans while you're at this stage in the process could foreseeably save administrative time and probably some construction costs down the road as well. The other very immediate part, and this is probably the most important one, I would say, is applying for charge up in Dane County round 3. That RFP did drop earlier this week in a timely fashion. The deadline for that is April 2nd. Crucially, that's the final round of this program to be for a host site. So again, not getting too much into politics, but knowing how much fewer and far between some funding opportunities are for electric vehicles, this is really kind of more or less your only firm pursuit to get a charger paid for, so to speak. The application itself is quite simple, but that deadline is April 2nd, which sounds far away, but as we were talking about before the meeting, it's really not. So, and of course, there's some other recommendations as well. That doesn't mean that Charge Up Dane County is the only program. So, for example, the carbon reduction program, which WSDOT holds, Wisconsin DOT holds on a biannual basis. The rules for what can be spent on that are determined by the state legislature. However, theoretically, when you look at the federal bill of the law, that could pay for electric chargers. So under the last cycle, that was not an eligible cost, but new elections come, new legislatures are set. So that very well could be something that opens up in 2027, 2028 in the future. Also, and we have a lot more about this in the report, but coordination with MG&E. They've, for example, with Madison, they've done a lot of things at full cost for incorporating actually some chargers at on-street parking sites as well. So considering that you're within that area, that's kind of something that that organization's wanted to do a lot themselves. So just coordinating with Madison Gas and Electric might be another way to maybe save a couple $1,000s in village dollars to get a public charger set up and to further their goals.
And
go ahead.
the Piggly Wiggly charger is actually part of that G&E network.
Yep, good. Thanks, Alexandria. And then lastly, too, getting a little bit away from the scope of this assessment, but we have a couple of different examples that we have in ways other communities have incorporated EV charging into their development approval process. Obviously, you'll see a lot of our recommendations are for places that are on private property and not public property. However, for whatever reason, a lot of applicants will come back to plan commission to, approve things, to, approve additions or revisions to their sites, so that can be, a good place. So if you're looking at like zoning code amendments or development process approval amendments, now can be a good time to look at what can we do internally, so that when those opportunities come up, we can, work with a vintage brewing, work with a quick trip and whatnot to get something like that, set up, or for future multifamily sites.
One of the things, that we see in best practices is if we can incorporate those, that EV charging infrastructure, or even just the bare bones for it, getting that, electrical set up in, say, a parking garage for a multifamily building, that lowers the cost compared to trying to retrofit. And so if you're having a multifamily complex that's going through, site approval or maybe the conditional use approval process, then that's an opportunity for the village to provide those residents with EV charging infrastructure, or at least set up the structure for that. It just depends on how each municipality words the code, basically.
And with that, that's, we tried to promise to keep this to half an hour, and we almost did it. So we'll call it quits here. But certainly happy to hear any initial impressions or any questions or comments on kind of what we talked about here today.
I'm sure we all have questions, so.
I'm sure.
Well, first, the Jen's on the phone. Either of you have anything, since you're not in the room to see everybody?
I just want to say that I would vote for fewer, better chargers, if that's a possibility, right?
In terms of the faster level 3 chargers.
Yeah, fewer of them. I mean, because we couldn't have them all be level 3s because we couldn't afford it. But I'd rather go fewer chargers and have them be level 3s than a lot of level 2s. It's just way, way more likely that people are going to be interested in using a level 3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And
we certainly understand that level 3 is the ideal scenario, given the funding that's currently available, and then also the drastic difference in cost between level 2 and level 3. Then we focused on level 2 for the assessment, but any of these sites you could look at for a level 3 charger, or just you would want to make sure that they have the electrical capacity to handle it.
Yeah.
I know for Quick Trips program, they have installed some level 3 chargers at their locations. So certainly if that's a site you pursue, working with them and expressing the preference for a level 3 charger is certainly something that I think would be beneficial.
Absolutely. And just to tag along that, we focus on level 2 really because the funding, as Alexandra has said, the level of the funding programs that exist, i.e. that charge at Dane County, the eligibility for that is only for level 2 chargers. So you can't get a level 3 charger.
I just completed a survey for people who own electric vehicles through it was a survey through MG&E, and it was clear that they were assessing some of the same things you just talked about. And one of the definitely top things was the amenities available near the charger. And I'm happy that that was clearly a concern when in selecting these sites, because I think that's really one of the most important things for the people who are actually going to use them. And if we have those things in place, it'll actually be a destination for people because they need to charge and they're going to choose here if it's near amenities.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely. And thank you for that. Certainly there's, reason a lot of them are very much clustered near the downtown, certainly. So.
Yeah.
I am curious about the library. I see that it's suitable but wasn't recommended. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so there were a couple of things on my gigantic matrix here. There were a couple of things that moved it down the list. It scored either highs or lows. So the things that scored low was the proximity to multifamily areas. It's primarily in a single family area. it doesn't have off-street parking, so if we were looking at the library, unless you count the pool parking, which is a substantial walk. So if we were looking at the library, we'd be looking at that on-street parking, which is feasible, but for the purposes of this assessment isn't ideal. We also looked at street lighting, and that's something where the street lighting combined with the low volume streets might make people feel more uncomfortable charging there. It's not as much of an issue during daylight hours, which is mostly when the library is open. But if folks were trying to charge at night, then that was a concern. It did actually score high on all the other categories. So amenity support, geographic distribution, ADA accessibility, they already have ADA parking spots on the street that could be retrofitted so that a charger could reach an ADA spot or a non-ADA spot. And it's obviously a community destination that people spend time at.
And of course, this matrix should also be treated as prioritization. It's not to say it's not recommended. It's just not the highest on the list.
Okay. And then
Please note though that a service that the library offers, which is not indicated on here, which is important, is that you can use their Wi-Fi from the street 24 hours a day. And that is desirable for people charging their cars.
that is a really good thing to note.
Yeah. And it is used. They can tell when it's used off hours, and it is used frequently. So people are already parking outside the library on off hours to use the Wi-Fi.
Interesting.
Okay, yeah, that's really good to know. We'll certainly include that. I think we're also noting that one of the limitations of this matrix is that things are not weighted. So, we have the high, medium, and low categories, but there might be things where you look at the library and in terms of the community destination and the access to Wi-Fi, that may push it above, other destinations that are also ranked high. And so that's, as committee members and as folks who have a better understanding of exactly how these community facilities are used, that's something that you can make a recommendation that doesn't necessarily align with this matrix, just because the a high is a high. And it might be that some of these are actually very high or, push things into recommendation.
Could somebody in, Alexandria, I don't know if you two would know, or maybe this is a question for our, village folks, but what happened with the last round? Did we decide not to apply, or did we apply, but we didn't get funding for it?
We applied and I think we were preliminarily approved, but then the site we had picked for was across from the bowling alley. And with the new Xander Park shelter going in, we didn't want to, they originally told us they were supposed to be dedicated for EV parking, and it'd take 5 spots down to 4 spots.
Okay.
And we didn't want to decrease the amount of parking down there.
Right, yeah, I was confused about what happened with that, so I sent Carly an email today. She was kind of like saying the same stuff about how a lot of them, I don't know if we were approved or not approved, preliminary or how far it went, or if they contacted the village, we were like, we don't want them there, like we retracted it. Wasn't exactly sure because of the parking issue. But it seems like that spot is like the perfect spot. Is what's weird about it.
Yeah.
It's like, it's the perfect place, but it's just constrained with the parking issues.
Yeah.
And that's where, and just let you know that Vintage is closing.
Oh, what?
Yeah, oh, you didn't know? Yeah, it's closing like March 29th or something.
Gosh.
Yeah, so,
Whoa.
And we will update our.
I feel glad.
okay.
It was just announced earlier this week.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. A few days, like I think I found last time.
Oh, that's interesting.
Or something.
Lisa. Okay.
So, I don't know if we want, we don't know what's going in there or what isn't going in there. Or,
I don't think we'd want to recommend that location unless we knew what was going in there. Because
Yeah.
sometimes related to, is it a community destination? Are people dwelling there and do they have the sort of amenities?
Right. But of course, on the flip side, if you get something that's adjacent to that coming in, of course, they're going through the plan commission process again. That's a good opportunity to talk to the developer about, perhaps getting a spot, in there.
Mhm.
So our next steps, and I don't know who the we is, but our next step is to decide which of these, if any of these, we think are the most suitable, so that we can then apply for this third round of funding if we're going to move forward.
Yeah, that's sort of,
And who makes that determination? Do we think Carly does, or the village board, or recommendation from our committee?
say that, again, who,
Who makes the recommendation about which of these to try to, because we would have to put that in the application, right?
Yeah.
Which site?
Yeah.
oh, yeah, definitely, and like, I think they came out and did a preliminary checkout with that site.
They did a site walkthrough and kind of a layout. Yeah.
Was that after we had applied? Though?
Yes.
So that
Yeah.
was like, they were kind of like, okay, this place looks good, then they actually came and checked it out, to be like, where would stuff go? And that was, like, I don't know, in Carly's emails, he said you and Mike went down there, like, the lot was full, and it was like just a regular day, and you go, we're gonna lose all these spots and
Yeah.
stuff.
Because I think one of them does have to be dedicated regardless to ADA, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it'd be,
So that's what you're saying, it takes up a long spot, is that?
yeah, so we would have went from 5 parking spots to 4, and then one of those 4 would be dedicated ADA, EV or not, it would be ADA.
If Street View is correct right now, one of them is already ADA dedicated. That's a Street View might be outdated.
I don't know where, I don't know, it might be.
Yeah.
Really.
It was, I believe, on the southeast corner. There was a spot that.
Oh, that's like right when you come in.
Oh, yeah, but I think they had the chargers on the other side.
The
But
Chargers.
Yeah. I think they were like on street side. Is where they had them.
On the, wait, on Mill Creek Parkway.
Yeah, Mill Creek
side?
Parkway.
Oh, well, that's the side where the ADA parking was.
Was it?
Yes. That's moving or.
Yeah.
Oh, so they were gonna basically take like that whole side. Is that
Yep.
what the idea was?
Yep.
Is the intention to install multiple chargers or just one charger with 2 ports?
According to her email.
I think they had 4 chargers.
They have 4 EV chargers.
Yeah.
All level 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is from the Dane County, so there's level 2.
So you're talking about just one port then? One charger, 2 chargings? Is that what it is?
Yeah, kind of what you just said there at the big.
I think it's like a charger for each parking spot, it's like, right, because if there are gonna be 4 chargers, you need, so I've seen in Middleton where they have 1 charger,
So
they do 2.
Yeah, there were probably 2 chargers to do 4 vehicles.
Yeah, okay, yeah, maybe.
Sorry.
In her emails, it's like for 40, maybe,
Yeah.
I don't know if that's how many physical things or wires. Maybe that would be ideal, was 2 of those with that.
Yeah.
And then the discussion with Dane County might be, is it possible to do, we have the dedicated ADA spot, is it possible to do preferential spots for the others, or is that something that takes that spot up the running for this program? And that's a question I don't have the answer to. But there's certainly there's precedence for signage for preferential to only take this spot if all of the other spots.
Right, and that was in the report, which is what, and Carly had mentioned that in her email, where it was in somewhere in California where these are EVs, but if the lot's full, you can just start parking. That's what I was saying.
Use last.
Find out if that's okay with the county, because they kind of feel like EVs can be superseded, they want them to be permanent.
And the way they talked when they did the site visit, it sounded like they needed to be permanent EV.
We're giving us money all the time.
Yeah. They needed to be fully available.
Okay.
Which is not to say there aren't other spots, obviously, as we
Yeah,
determined,
yeah.
but that is by the major is clearly the best one. So there's a reason you put there in the first place, right?
So
So,
that's why I'm just kind of beating it to death here. Like, I'm trying to figure out there's a way to like, you know, it's very central. It's, you know, next to that apartment building right there, the one further down the road where someone could go in. It is a,
And I will say Carly mentioned to us the bank parking lot that we mentioned earlier. It didn't score particularly well, really due to there isn't actually an ADA spot. As that parking lot currently stands, an additional spot would need to be added. We need to make sure that there was all of the accesses needed, so curb access needed, that sort of thing, additional clearance. And then also the lack of light was another detracted from that particular public parking location.
a brief follow-up on that Lake Ridge Bank, is that like a situation where it's open to the public when the bank is closed? Or is it truly a 24/7, it's like open to public parking all the time?
I think it's open to public parking all the time.
Okay.
They own it, we lease the parking from them.
Oh, okay.
Is it paved or
Yep.
is it gravel?
It's paved.
they used to be gravel. It was
Yeah.
paved when we entered into the.
Oh,
They were, yeah, they were, I think they were thinking about paving it in, we just, and then we just, with them, and they were, oh, let's see who makes it better, because now people from Dottie, the bar before were working there anyway. And that was more of a after business sort of like you can use it, but it's more of a resource thing.
I asked that follow-up because I'm pretty sure that's a program recommendation too, that it's 24-hour.
Yeah.
24/7, availability.
Oh, I guess, so the bank was like, you can't use it when.
Because a lot of municipalities have a thing where it's like the bank, they let you use it, but not during bank hours.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, on that note, I think technically the one by Mill Creek is supposed to be no parking between 12 AM and 6 AM.
oh, interesting.
Weirdly, I don't think that lot is.
It's the cross lot? Yeah.
The lot across the street has signs.
Yeah, that's probably why I can't go in that lot.
That one has signs up.
You are
I
correct.
think the AM and-
It is, I'm getting it fixed.
Well, it's up between 12 PM and 6 AM, but I'm like. It's what they say, they didn't. Okay, yeah, but I think the lot across from the bowling alley, that doesn't have. signs.
That does not have
Bowl.
Yeah, it's a good one.
This is Carsburg Gardens, and I think that house. That little house. Okay, well, so with the Dane County, the one thing is the fully available spots is kind of. Sounds like the one sticking point if we wish to pursue, and even if we want to pursue that or not, with just the amount of use that lot gets. So we just need just the size limitation.
Now, this is like a super basic question, but it could, Alexandria, you were explaining the difference between level 2 and the DC fast charger, and then you talked about, for a second, you talked about like transitioning or an upgrade. If at some point we did level 2 and then we're like, this is actually a terrible idea, in a few years we want to upgrade, what does that look like?
So I was thinking, upgrading in terms of before anything is installed.
Okay.
If you install basically everything but the charger for level 2, then you need additional infrastructure. Because the current runs differently for the DC fast chargers.
Okay.
And you have a greater electrical load that's being pulled. So you have to make sure that the connections to the grid are, allow enough electricity and that it's not putting a strain, on that infrastructure. And so for example, for the municipal campus, then you have, in order to implement a DC fast charger, you would need a step-up converter in order to, make that site suitable and make that infrastructure suitable. I'm sure there are places where they've done the level 2s and then they've decided to swap it out. I think it's probably more common that they see a level 2 and they realize, hey, we want additional charging capabilities and then add a level 2 next to it. I've certainly seen that. I don't know, I'm unfamiliar with how transferable it, how much of that infrastructure you could pick up and just move. But certainly that's something where if you talk to an electrical engineer, they'll be able to tell you for that particular site, what would be in order to get the infrastructure there.
Yeah, level 3s are an investment, like the level 2 is a couple $1,000s per charger, level 3 is more in the tens of thousands of dollars, so it's quite a bit more.
Okay, thank you.
It also works exponentially better, so you're getting what you pay for, right?
Okay, well, yeah, so inside your report that you said level 2 chargers cost between 11,000 and 20,000 per charging station. And chargers can cost between 25,000 and 50,000 per charger.
Yep.
That was from like the next, so the recent purchases maybe 10.
Yes. So, but yeah, it's not quite that big of a difference, excuse me. They can, I have seen them like, and in terms of the equipment themselves as a purchase, it can be as low as $10,000 to $2,000 to fully install.
Oh, that's
To fully install. So,
okay,
yeah,
that's what's
that's
okay, that's one.
Yeah.
Right, okay. So, all right, well, that's the one. I guess I'm gonna ask you a generalized question. I mean, are all chargers gonna be the DC fast current in like 5 years or 10 years? Like, as electric vehicles, you read about these things are going to solid state batteries. Those batteries want to be charged like in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, I just have this feeling in my gut that like, that's what everybody's gonna want anyway. And almost trying to be rude toward level 2 chargers, but like, they're just gonna, everyone's gonna be like, where's the garbage can? Nobody wants to sit around this 10 hours on a car charge. Whatever. I mean, I'm just being honest,
No,
I mean,
sure.
I mean, I'm just from like what I'm like reading and feeling and kind of looking at things. I just wasn't sure like if you knew anything about that, or is it like talked about, or is it just like just keep on going, with what you're doing and hope for the best, and if we change them out, we change them out.
I think the general thought right now is it really, a lot of it is contingent on the national environment, right? So, in terms of where money is going, so, previous 4 years, we had just tons and tons of money to, proliferating this network, and obviously now we're facing kind of different kind of politics where like a lot of that stuff is being pulled out, it's meeting a lot of resistance. So movement's going to be a lot slower on that. So level 2 is probably going to be around like in the current stasis up until another there's a different idea of what we do with transportation funding, right?
Or even just how technology advances.
Or how technology advances.
I think the other thing is that when we look at the long-term vision of what an ideal EV landscape looks like.
Yeah, see, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, so I think in my mind, it's that we're integrating EV charging into daily routines. So for some folks, that looks like, they're pulling into their garage and they're plugging in their level 1 charger, which is it's more of a trickle. But that works because it's a location where they're going to be there for long periods of time. At the office building that we work in, they have, the connected office building has some, I believe, level 2 chargers because people are staying there for, 8 hours a day. And as a result, within the MG&E network, those DC fast chargers are more expensive per watt than the level 2 chargers because they take more infrastructure. And so it's that trade-off of the level 2 chargers are much faster than the level 1, but you are paying for that electricity at a higher premium than if you're plugging in at home. And so if you can integrate it into your routine, if you're at a place of employment, or if you're somewhere where people are going to be there for 2 or 3 hours, then it might be worth it for them to pay the lower rate and plug into a level 2 charger as opposed to paying a higher rate. Whereas if you're on a road trip, then you're going to want that DC fast charger.
I get what you're saying in terms of like the MG load structure, because how, yeah, because of how they have to supply, because if you're gonna be drawing that much current at one time, their infrastructure goes up tremendously to support that. I mean, they always have to be able to support the load is what it is. So that's why you know, library is on a higher meter than say this building, because it draws a higher load and they pay for a higher cost or a higher connection. And okay, I didn't even think I would put in a level two.
But all these chargers that we're talking about putting in are not for people at work and not for people at home. These are for people who are between stops or making a short stop. So to me, the only thing that makes sense is a level 3 charger because they're not sitting there for 4 to 8 hours.
Yeah,
It's not.
yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Our market is the market that you're looking at is people on their way to someplace else or coming here for a short time, right? None of these are intended for like if the vintage was going to still be open for the vintage employees to be charging while they're at work. They're not intended for,
But can we do both? Because we have this opportunity with this grant through the charge up that's coming up very quickly here, which is only level 2. And if we are strategically putting it in a place that is near apartment buildings or perhaps in an area like the new village hall where it would be able to attract those people who are going to be there for many hours at a time, more locally, and then more looking long term, looking at those level 3 chargers and strategically placing that to draw people into our community. So kind of doing both.
I think that's a great idea. Can you talk more about how that would work with, let's say you put one near an apartment complex. So, there's 5 people in the complex who own vehicles that they'd like to charge. It's just like first come, first served, who happens to get there that night, and one person doesn't get their car at night because they missed it. It's difficult with when you're putting it in to serve the people who are living there.
Right. And I think we need to do every approach. And also, as was mentioned, the best practice of perhaps when we're coming up with our comprehensive plan recommendations, we need to write into that transportation section about multi-unit housing and making sure that that infrastructure is put in there from the get-go so that there isn't that situation where people in those multi-unit housing facilities don't have that opportunity because, yeah, the station's already taken up.
Yeah, I can just speak personally. I live in an apartment complex in Middleton, and they have specific spots that are designated as having the capability to have EV chargers. So some of my neighbors have the chargers that they received with their car, and they have just outlets that are strong enough that were installed with the building, so they can plug their personal charger to that spot in the garage. So it doesn't necessarily have to be that the whole charger is installed, but if we're looking at those multifamily areas, then the infrastructure is there so that people can tap into to that electrical grid, and that load is already anticipated.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think putting this in the comprehensive plan is extremely important, even so far as apartment complexes do upgrades to their parking lots, that they should be required to then include something like that.
Yeah, and I think you can look at a couple different structures. Some municipalities just go with a number, others go with a percentage of the parking spots. So you can say that 5 to 10% of every parking lot over this certain size needs to have EV charging capabilities, or you can say this for this range it needs to be this many spots. For parking lots of this size, it needs to be this many spots. There are lots of models that you can look to, but certainly putting them in the comprehensive plan gives you that basis to make those decisions and have it backed up by something that's been adopted by the village board.
Mhm.
So I want to talk real quick about the village hall sites that you guys have selected. I know Yeah, that drawing. I know right now, they are doing some conduit for electric charging on the outside on the building. The ground has already been, they're building it right now.
Oh,
It is being, concrete foundation is almost done, a lot, like it's happening. So. Now, this would have been good to have before. I don't know if these ideas could be incorporated now. You know?
The pavement's not paved, so I mean, you got
I just
got a
don't
little
know,
time.
I just don't know if they're keeping the holes in the, when they're dumping the concrete in, if they're actually putting pipes in, so they don't drill through, or they go back through and power drill through to like.
Well, I don't think the lines would come back out of the building. I think it'd be out of the transformer outside the building.
most of them.
Oh, well, see, that's what. Okay. Well, I guess that's what I don't know, okay? Maybe they. All right, well, that's, okay, so that's what I don't understand then. So like if, all right, so you're saying there, I guess to the southeast corner where that red blob is, right?
Yes.
And like you're gonna put in conduit to put charging there. You would run conduit from wherever the transformer for the whole building is to that site, or how do you run power to that area? Or where does the conduit go? I guess that's my question, like.
That's a follow-up for the election.
Like, cause I thought it was like.
So
I thought it was going through the building's electrical and then going out to the charger, but these chargers, like, are these chargers that were standalone where you shove your credit card in and then person plugs in, they get billed. And like, that's it, like, they're just, right, like you would, still trying to figure it out.
yeah, so like when MG&E comes around and reads meters, I think they pull that information
Okay,
and then it gets charged or billed, I'm guessing.
That's my understanding.
Yeah,
they get,
because I mean, when it was
well, who gets charged?
when it was supposed to be in the parking lot, right? There's no building there, but there's transformers there. And so they would pull off the transformers to charge.
To charge the gift, well, that was, see, so I guess that's my question, like with the charge of Dane County, like, who's running the, I mean, somebody puts their credit card in like a charger, so.
The money goes
The
where?
money goes, like somebody else is,
Yeah.
obviously that thing must have some sort of internal meter that's spinning and says you just suck down 100
Yep.
kilowatt hours, whatever that, or 50 kilowatt hours, we're billing you at this rate. And that's just whatever. I don't know that MGE builds that company that owns that meter then. See, I guess I'm not understanding the process that it happened. So that's what would have to happen, right? Like, cause that's like the village isn't gonna own that and get billed for that electricity. We go through Dane County down there, like it isn't, right? I mean, that's
Yeah.
because,
Yeah, it's partnership with like MG&E or who, yeah,
Yep.
we asked this question on a other sustainability committee when we were applying for this first grant, I remember, and
I don't
still
know
don't know.
really, but I think I know that at one time Jay was saying that like the village at Village Hall, and then the village couldn't own the chargers and it couldn't be on the village meter because the village isn't a utility and isn't allowed to sell electricity. Was something that he said. Is that like your understanding?
That's my understanding, yeah.
Yeah, like you can only sell electricity if you're a utility. So the village, so it does, this stuff doesn't come out of the. So that's where, because like on this drawing, the plan spot for, and it's actually like what that was taken from, the little letter things. I looked at it up today. For there possible being 2 chargers on there is, you go from that blob over in the corner, just go straight to the left. Like go across and like right there, they're gonna, that's where they're planning 2 of them to be. It's like, so that it feeds those front parking spots.
I see.
That was, like I even looked today, like, and and it's kind of weird because where they are, in front of that is actually a sidewalk, like, so I don't know. I think it was just sort of decided by the committee that was doing the building, because we were like, we should probably have some chargers here before, by the, I don't know, people know where to put chargers. I mean, I don't know, I don't know how the decision is made.
But that is moving whether or not we get this grant, right? That infrastructure is moving ahead, whether or not we,
No, that is not permanent. They are just putting in conduit for it. Like, they aren't even putting
Thank
in,
you.
they aren't even putting in wires. They are putting in
I see,
underground pipes.
so that it
So that
could
you just
be.
pull the wires
I see.
through, but that's where I was like, where is that pipe coming from? Like, is it coming out of the building foundation? But what it sounds like, it can't, because the village isn't selling it, so are they running? Because I think the transformer for this.
The village might not sell it, but it's something they could offer and pay for. It would be something we'd have to pay for.
Well,
right?
Well, see, I don't know.
So it'd be free charging essentially.
I don't have any idea.
I don't know either.
Yeah,
So
see, or I don't know if we were going to try to, see, like, could we like be like Dane County, hey, rather than over there, we want to drop them here. Would they then be like, oh yeah, once your building's done, we'll put 2 there, or I don't know, just spitball in here, like, because we think the other lot isn't the way to go,
Yeah,
and they should go over here, but I don't know if they should go there or not, because, oh, there's a sidewalk there, and it kind of looks like from these pictures, they work really well, like, where you would back in, and it's like dirt behind them, and you don't have, like, the wires don't have to go over a 5-foot sidewalk to get to your car. You go to, because in front of it, where those spots are, that's concrete, like, it's a sidewalk in front of it, whereas over here, where you would draw, they would be, well, on the ground, and like you know what I'm saying, and back there, they'd be on the ground, which is kind of the typical way of doing it, so it's kind of like, I'm getting the vibe that it might be in the wrong place. That's kind of like what I'm alluding to.
Certainly if the, policeman required the wires to cross the sidewalk, that's also an accessible concern.
Yeah.
So that's something where, it would not be, especially if you had.
Oh, like if somebody,
It
oh,
might basically put the ADA space at jeopardy of not meeting the
right,
requirements.
because if the way to get up there is here, and there's somebody going across, they can't get, because that's the spot, or I would call that. So that's,
I would assume it'd be mounted on face a curb with enough room for accessibility behind it. But I have not seen those plans, so I highly doubt they have it designed to be draped across the sidewalk.
yeah, I don't know. These are the only plans that I've seen, like, in terms of detail, or I don't think I don't know if there's like another level of detail plan. I imagine there is with the underground supports.
Yeah.
Because that's, see, that's like where I don't know, because with what we're talking, because I think that square box that's go up, no, up to the right, down, no, like up in that little corner.
What corner?
Okay, go left.
Yeah.
Go left, there's like, right there.
Uh,
That, I think, is the transformer. That's where I think they're putting the electrical transformer. Because that long rectangle next to it is where the generator would go. So I think that's where the training, I think, if I remember correctly. And that's where I'm like, if you're running it from the transformer all the way around to the front, that's a lot of conduit that if you're not going through the building, it's the walls. You get what I'm saying? Like,
I agree, yeah.
I'm just sort of engineering it here a little bit, but I'm just trying to figure it out, because if we're gonna reapply for this Dane County piece, and we don't go with the lot on 14, we wanna go here.
agree.
If they come out here and they look and they're like, we have that, but the consulting group said back here or back there, you know, what are they doing?
Right.
That's what I don't know. You know?
Well, this is an assessment, and this was made before like that RFP came out in terms of this. Now, like when you're responding to the RFP, it doesn't have to be specifically to the parking stall, right? So this is where we're saying, like, you know, as best practices is where it should go. But in terms of applying for the program, like, you know, you can say like, we identified this lot as a good place, and work a little bit more granularly as you get into it.
That's helpful. So Alexandra, the two red circle, oblong circles.
Yeah.
Indicate talk about that top one, 'cause we haven't talked about.
Oh, yeah, that top one, and we changed the color with that in the presentation to make this clearer. So yeah, this one, so I circled that blue one and saying like, you know, that's another place where it could work. Generally when you see these in municipal lots, they are kind of against the curb face, like in the back, kind of like in the way they are right now. That one's not near the road, so that one's also, we just kind of like threw a, hey, food for thought, you know, if the village decided to go for fleet electrification, the police department decided to go for electrification, that's a good place to, you know, put your fleet vehicles.
Okay, so it's more for fleet than for public.
It could be for either, but that is like one, if you want to do fleet, that would be the place to put it.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
You want them closer to the entrance.
That's
Close to the.
There is potentially a trail crossing here.
Yep. Right. And I mean, the blue makes sense for public too, aside from the safety thing, because that's right next to the trail where you can hop on and go for a walk and get into the downtown area really easily, but safety and other reasons it probably, okay. But what I'm hearing is we don't have to get married to a particular parking spot. We can just say this lot is what we would apply for if we wanted to move forward. That's what I heard.
Yeah, but it doesn't have to be right to the parking spot.
Okay.
You know?
They'll come out and do a site assessment.
They came out and did a site
Yeah.
assessment, looked around.
Yeah.
And
Give the
Yeah,
recommendation.
you want the address, but yeah.
This seems like a really good idea because it's also a little closer to some multi-unit, how do you say it again?
Multi-family. Yeah.
Multi-family. Yeah.
And you want to make sure that you call out all of those things in the application and call out that access to the trail. And,
Yeah.
you know, the things that they wouldn't necessarily be able to
Okay.
see on.
And you're hitting all three priorities here, so.
Okay.
so,
Are we rural because we're less than 10,000? What's the definition that's being used here?
I think it's outside of a census designated urban area, and Cross Plains is just outside of one. So yes,
yeah, it's like reading other like grant stuff, we get classified as rural in a lot of things, and it's basically because we have I think it's basically because we have 5 miles of local field between us. As soon as that's not field anymore, I don't think we're rural.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is really what I think from what I've read. It's, you have to have so much farm around you, and as soon as that gets closed, I think.
We better apply for grants right now.
I've read like just the definitions,
Yeah.
like real, just to be honest, like, as soon as we are, because it talks about being disconnected from a body, and we're disconnected right now from Middleton.
Okay.
Yeah, if it becomes a contiguous area, then those urban area boundaries will be adjusted by the SAT and by the Department of Administration, and then we'll likely see that Cross Plains will become part of the Madison area. If there's that separation, then it goes up to the state to determine what's urban and what's rural, and where those plans get drawn for those census areas.
Yeah, because for a lot of the focus on energy, so rural. Because of that separation.
Okay. I thought it was population, so it's good to know.
I mean, it might be a population.
There's a population that pushes you over into your own urban area. I believe that's 50,000 for transportation purposes. But that's
That's a 10 for some grant purposes, for MPO purposes.
for MPO, but
Yeah.
for MPO transportation purposes, it's 50. And so just depends on what you're, but for census, I'm making this more complicated than.
No,
No,
We're
actually,
playing.
it's good stuff.
so are we thinking that with the Dane County thing, we want to do this spot?
That would be my personal recommendation.
Yeah, versus trying to do it and put up the
Mhm.
put up the signs that say, you know, you can park here
Yep.
unless it's full, and then when it's full, and then we charge there is like.
Yep.
Okay,
For those of us online, when you said this spot, you meant the village hall?
yes,
Okay,
yeah,
I
sorry.
agree with that. I agree.
Yeah, that's where we're thinking we should probably apply and see what happens, and hopefully they get back to us, and then we can figure out some conduit work before, you know, before all that other happens. I don't know how, I mean, unless you're, you know, on the front there, especially if we're gonna go with the front spot, I don't think that's gonna be a humongous issue, because MGM has like transformers up and down that road all over the place. So I think there's a gigantic power line. Like,
Yeah.
there's one in front of all those buildings, they're all.
Yeah.
up and down.
Right.
I mean, unless putting in some level 2 chargers, and they have to rewire under Bourbon or something. Whatever, but they just put a well up Gill's Way, and rewire them. Where it all, so. Okay. I think that's all.
Thank
Is that
you.
it? All right. Is there anything, or anyone online have any other questions? Jen or Jenny?
All good. Thank you for your presentation.
Well, yeah, thank you for the really good feedback. My contact info is on that PowerPoint slide. Otherwise, Carly and Matt both know how to find me as well. More thoughts come up on this.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Only
Thank
5 minutes
you.
and I'm supposed for you guys to go. Thank you for having us so long.
We might not go long.
Hour 15, that's enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to. Okay, well, let's do like the next two. How about that? Because they're pretty quick.
Okay.
Okay, the discussion on the sustainability plan being incorporated into the village's comprehensive plan. I had listened to that one plan commission meeting. Jay had said something in there that they wanted the committee's recommendations by September. I believe I sent that to you guys in email. So that's kind of like where we're going or what we're thinking September. What I haven't done is figured out if they want us to, how they want it, like they just want recommendations, or if they actually want it inserted into the text. I'm imagining probably not inserted into the text because it might get matched around by somebody else at some point or something. But that's something I can figure out. And then we just sort of need to take our recommendations, go through those pages again, and sort of, you know, just refine them, and do like bam, 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 bam. And I don't know, maybe I'll do some work on that for the next meeting, see like what can be done with that, and figure out what, or I'll just start to put some brain power on where you confuse all this, ask you guys like what's going on. They're like,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, we just try to like.
Okay. Yeah, Michael, can you remind us, because we missed a couple of meetings and now I don't know, are there still sections that need eyes or did we get through?
I think
all
we
of them?
went through them all,
Okay.
but like I think like the transportation, I think you did the transportation section. I think you did. I think you did.
Okay.
Because I did one of them and I was like, I didn't really think there was a whole lot of changes, and there was a transportation one, because it talked about things like getting bus line.
That's right.
Whatever.
I do remember that.
I think you did that, I think like this was all good, but
We
yet,
should do it.
tonight we just got the addition of like EV charging and things.
Yes.
So that's like one for like the transportation, like chapter, like, you know,
Yeah.
recommendation or whatever.
Do we
Is it
even,
transportation or housing or both? Because it should be specifically for developments of multifamily homes, right?
Well, then maybe it's both. It's both then.
yeah, probably doesn't hurt to have it in both. That's a great point. But do we have them? I know that we all did them in different ways.
Yeah.
Do we have it all in any comprehensive?
No,
Okay.
it's just still under just kind of in all the ways, and that's where
Gotcha.
it's like. I could go through and spend some time and try to
Yeah.
make it consistent and make it say like what people were wanting, and we just try to figure out from there. Somebody needs to sit down and just kind of go this. And I'm willing to put in a few hours, you know, whatever, to try to figure out what it is. Like I say, I'll start on it and see what happens and bring it back, see if I get confused. I mean, we have a few months, so it's best to get started on it earlier rather than starting in August. So
That sounds great. That sounds
Yeah,
great.
can we maybe just put together a little bit of a timeline just so we can make sure we have it ready to go for submission to them in September? Just so we can make sure, just in case we don't end up meeting every month, if we want to maybe make a goal of when we have it all compiled. And then when we all have it finally reviewed again by, so we can make final edits before submitting.
So what would the next steps be? If Michael is saying that he will try to unify our suggestions, then maybe the next step after that is that we all review what he did and suggest additions or subtractions. And then that once those are incorporated, then that's our final offer before September. Are those the steps?
yeah, that sounds great. Like
Yeah, that sounds
unification,
good.
unification April, May. I don't know if we'll meet next month, but we do. I'll have something April, May. Everybody's edit, June, July, August is final like thing. Because then it would be ready for the September plan commission meeting. Let's do that, and if need be, in August, even after the meeting, if a few emails fly, it's not the end of the world.
Okay.
I mean, because it's going to go to another public meeting, whatever. So you know, it's not. I don't think we're going to be breaking any open records on any sentences here or there, whatnot, especially with all these other things happening before.
That sounds good.
Then the only other thing I wanted to discuss was the focus on energy grant, because I went to the library and talked to Melissa about the grant stuff. So in terms of setting up like an education thing involving some sort of sustainability or whatnot, she said that her and Kelly would put their hats on and try to see what they can come up with or look around or figure out, or see if there's some speakers at the UW that have topics, to some of those people have topics that they'll come and speak about, and how available like that, just sort of brainstorm on that. So I was like, okay, we have this grant money, and I asked what do they charge, which was like some do, some don't, some are just passionate about doing it, they like to talk about things. So it might not be any money at all. So I was like, okay.
But we want to get money.
Well, so then the second part of that is the library just internally retrofitted all their lighting to LEDs, just like last week. So they got a contractor, and they're going to be putting in for some focus on energy money. And I was like, well, we have this grant, we don't know what we're doing with it, and it costs. I mean, she said that the contract was like $10,000 to do it. So I was just kind of like, well, we got $1,000. Like, you guys just did energy improvements, and maybe you just get it. And she's like, yeah, and we still might do a presentation. So we might get, the $1,000 for the retrofit. We just might give them, and maybe they'll give us a presentation or two, kind of thing.
I totally support that.
It's kind of like the way that conversation with Elizabeth went.
I totally support. I mean, because the library was included in that audit, right?
Yeah, it definitely, it was like all the internal lighting, the LED changes. They had some things on there like rooftop units and update motors and stuff, and those are more like, I just hope those fail, that like contractors, like you can spend a little bit more to upgrade to a more efficient unit, but I don't know. We don't have a facilities manager that is kind of like the library kind of does its own thing.
Yeah.
This and that. We've kind of talked about it on finance a little bit about when we get this new building, do we need to start thinking about having some staff member partially know how these buildings work or what's going on in them from an efficiency point of view, where we just sort of feel like the village is too small for that, so everybody just kind of works in their own silo.
Yeah.
So, but that was from.
Do we need I mean, I'm happy to make a motion so that we can have the conversation, but I think we've been sitting on this money And I think it's a great use. It's in keeping with the audit recommendations and
Yeah.
they just did it. So
Yeah, I mean, we can motion to give the $1,000 to the library if we want to, or we want to wait and see if they come back with presentations, or what do you, I mean, or we can wait till next meeting, we don't think about it, so we come up with any other idea. I mean, it's not, it's not going anywhere. It's just up to what you guys want to do. I just came back and told you what I thought.
I'm in favor of giving it to them to help offset the cost of the lighting and then the consultant that they're gonna hire to help with further efficiency upgrades, right? Because they hired this consultant to help them.
Oh, no, they didn't hire a consultant.
Oh, okay. So the $10,000 that you said.
That was just for the cost of them to upgrade all the lighting.
Thank you. Okay, so
That was-
right.
that was-
So $1,000 would go a little bit toward that 10,000.
Yeah, the cost of
Yes.
10,000 is they replaced the can lighting.
Gotcha.
And they replaced all the fluorescent lighting, like above the children's and the adults and back in
Okay.
the community room and in the offices. It just happened, I guess, last week, because I went in today to talk to her actually. I've been a few times and she wasn't there, and I was like, and when I walked in, she was like, "Did you notice the lighting was changed?" And it looks pretty much the same. Like she talked to the lighting, and she's like, "I don't want it to change a lot, but I just want it to be LEDs." And it's actually,
That's awesome.
unless you're
Uh-huh.
really looking, you can't really tell it.
Jen and Jenny, what are your thoughts?
I was waiting for you to make a motion so I could second it.
Oh, sweet. Okay. I didn't want to make a motion if it was not going to get supported. So I will make a motion that we use the $1,000 that we received from Focus on Energy to give to the library to help offset their LED upgrade.
Jennifer Wonkerl seconds the motion.
Okay, I have a motion and a second for the $1,000 to be spent at the library. Any discussion?
I would like to encourage the library to put together a program describing said upgrades so that it can become a educational opportunity as well, but I don't think we should require it.
Yeah, sure. I can talk to Elizabeth about that, because I still request the MG&E bills every month from Bobby, and just still have my giant spreadsheet of what different bills. I figured I did it for the 3 years thing before. I'm like, why should I just stop doing it now? It doesn't take that long to do it. And so I'm curious as well to actually see if this change in the lighting inside the building, what it brings down their kilowatt hour usage per month. I mean, I've kind of back of the envelope computations, and it seems like it could be between 700 and 1,000 kilowatt hours a month. Just quick stuff, because the lights that they were using, sorry, I'm not going to bore you or get out of here. The lights they were using were 32-watt fluorescent bulbs, and these new LEDs are 15-watt.
Okay.
And they probably had 180 bulbs. So when you knock 17 watts off 180 times, you get almost 3,000 watts. And so per hour, you're saving 3 kilowatt hours at a 10 or 15 cent rate. They're saving 45 cents to 50 cents an hour in electrical homes.
That's a good math, by the way,
Something
and
like
that's
that.
pretty cool.
Motion is still on the table, though.
Yeah. But it's discussion. It's discussion.
I can say why this is a good idea.
Good discussion. Let's vote.
It's an hour.
Jen's like, that's enough discussion.
I'll let you know if my math is right. Okay. All those in favor of the motion to give the $1,000 Focus on Energy grant to the library for their energy efficiency lighting changes that they did, say aye.
Aye.
All those.
Aye.
Thank you. No, you're good. All those opposed, nay. Okay, we have spent the $1,000.
Great.
Okay, and with that being said, we can talk about this other stuff next time. Does anybody else have any wrap up or next steps?
Because we just talked about the parking or the EV chargers, and then we talked about the library, I just had to put another plug in for putting those EV chargers at the library, because not only are those stereotypically the same kind of people, right? The people who are going to the library are the people with the electric vehicles, but also they are the ones who would be, they're going to use it. It's the right people. And that particular library is a lead library, so it's drawing even more of that kind of person.
So what are you, I guess, what are you saying, Jen?
My plug is to move that library up on that list of possible EV charging sites. I think that should be a real goal to get one there.
Mhm.
Oh,
Are you suggesting, because I can see Michael's face. Are you,
I'm like, are we
the-
suggesting,
yeah.
or are we suggesting the library?
Exactly. So
Oh, or like, that's where I'm.
for the deadline for the grant for Dane County,
Yeah,
would want to make a recommendation, probably coming from the Sustainability Committee, probably
Yeah.
tonight, so that Carly could work on that application
Probably gonna start
tomorrow or this week.
or, yeah.
And so is your feeling strong enough that you'd push back on the recommendation about that grant paying for charging stations at Village Hall? Or are you saying like, let's go forward with Village Hall and let's continue to look for funds at the library? Because they also talked about the possibility of state funding becoming available. at
yes,
some
the
future-
second. The second. I think the Village Hall plan is excellent. I think some of the other suggestions that they made for locations are not nearly as good as the library. But yes, the municipal hall plan is the way to go to start for sure.
Great.
Okay, thank you.
Understood.
That was the concern that I had and the.
Yeah, I wasn't suggesting we start over.
I was like.
Spend another 2 hours on this.
No.
Whatnot. Okay,
Do we need a motion to adjourn?
yes. if there's
I
no-
just want to say one last thing.
Sure.
I feel like we need to get a lot of what we're doing in our meetings out to the public, especially if we are doing that donation to the library. Have we ever talked about doing like a little sustainability corner or something in the quarterly newsletter?
I think a long time ago, we did talk about doing something like that, like putting something in there that would be, this is what we're talking about, and this is what we're working on, or this is like what we're doing. So,
Website is the best thing. Yeah,
say again?
we've got our website.
Oh, yeah, we have a small, it's on the village's website underneath the administrator that gets visited. So we do have a web page in there that we could put it on, but this would definitely be something very good to, put in the newsletter, so. that'd be
Yeah,
something.
if we're actually doing something tangible, I think we need to put that out there. And I don't know if the library is planning on putting anything in about their changes that they've made, but both would
Yeah.
be good for the public to know about.
Definitely.
Is anybody interested or willing to ghostwrite that article? Because I'm guessing that Carly or somebody would want that article written for them. So is there a volunteer who would draft that up for the?
I absolutely could. I just would need to talk to somebody to get more of the details first, but I could certainly do that.
So Jenny, you're volunteering to draft the article if you talk to the people that would give you the information that you need.
Yes.
Amazing. When's the next village newsletter coming out? Is it April?
That should be, yeah.
April.
It would be-
Which,
March.
I think of January, February, for 2 months. I think it's January, February, March, April, but like it could be getting finalized right now.
oh, okay.
Saying is what I'm thinking. 'Cause
Yeah.
Generally, it's like the third week, like it's gonna be the March, April one, but
Yeah.
it's about March.
Okay.
So like,
Who's in charge of it?
Becky is
Oh, okay.
up here. Could talk to her. I would also probably contact Elizabeth at the library because there is a library corner. So, so whether or not, like if Elizabeth is gonna have it in there that they upgraded all these light bulbs and all this, like, I don't know if in the newsletter you want to repeat the same thing twice, like not trying to be rude or anything. But if Elizabeth is gonna do like a big write-up in the library thing, and we're giving them the money. I
Put
don't
it
know.
right up in the
What-
newsletter
what
or
did
in
she-
something else you're talking about? The library's already doing that for which?
The library has a library corner in the newsletter.
Yeah, see, I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
So like, so now that we've given the money, like, I don't know if Elizabeth is gonna mention that. I mean, it wouldn't hurt for us to mention it. It's just, I just don't know if we want to repeat something like that. That I don't know. Like, that's all I'm saying. Like,
Okay, well, I'll reach out to both Becky and Elizabeth
Amazing.
and see what,
see what happens there. Or Elizabeth might be like, you know, we upgraded our lights, see the sustainability thing. Then you like write about like how we want to, how we want to, you know, do it.
Cool.
And if you have any
Right.
other, if you have any questions with who to contact, you can always contact me. I can help you. Or Carly will be able to help you also.
okay, that sounds good.
Okay. Okie dokie. So any other questions or concerns, anyone? All right, I just need an adjournment, or motion to adjourn.
I motion to adjourn.
There a second?
I second.
I have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
I,
Aye.
Bye.
All those opposed, nay. Okay, we are adjourned.
thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
Thank
you.
you.
This was a good meeting. I
Bye-bye.
have to run right now, but